I know historically that spot, once we've had snow melt, and because of its proximity to the M25 and stuff, we get a lot of runoff. They spray stuff and they use this grit, which has got all sorts of chemicals and that in it. And very salty. And of course, once that leaches into the canal, the little spot at the outflow we fished becomes even more important. You know, all the fish that are in that area flood into that outflow to get out of all the nasty runoff. Now, I know that if you're there to make the most of that and you've got rigs there, you're catching them. Absolutely no shadow of a doubt. So I phoned Rich and said, look, is there any chance we could get there and just, you know, do a morning on the off chance we can get a bite? And Rich could do it, he could make it, so we went. We got there in the dark, lowered in. The sewage works was pushing hard, there was lots of snow melt, it looked absolutely perfect. We were getting lots of liners, and sure enough, we got our bite. It didn't take long. I think we had to wait like 2 hours or something. After loads of liners, eventually, the rod that was getting all the liners wasn't the one that went. The other rod absolutely whacked over and roared off. And luckily, we got it in a lovely common. So we had one in the bag, even before we set out to do this. Do you know what? Sometimes it catches you by surprise. We've had loads of line. It's been a really odd morning here. And anyway, I had another rod up this way in a spot that I never usually fish here. And sure enough, it's that one that's just kind of crazy. But anyway, that took me properly by surprise. It was all a bit frenetic and a bit quick off the mark, but he ran under the other line. I don't know if you saw me, I had to quickly throw the rod out of the way because the back leg got caught on the other line. And there he is. And you can see now just how dense the cabbages are and how tight to the wall they are now growing, which of course has changed how the fish move up and down here. So what they're doing is they're moving underneath all the time. And we've been getting like massive pullovers on the rod. You can see, look, out in front of us, there's the snow melt. And this is the nice clear treated water coming out. Oh, I'm really pleased with that. Hobbled down like an old man, but got him in the end. And yeah, he's a lovely carp nut. It's probably one of the ones that's lived here for a long time, I think. I recognise him. But anyway, I'm really happy with that. On such a, it's hard to believe, like last night, not last night, I think last night it dropped to about 0, but the night before was like -7. The night before that, obviously, massive snow. But it just goes to show that if you've got a spot like this, and I'll be honest with you, there isn't many spots like this, but if you've got yourself a spot where you think, regardless of the conditions, that there's a bite to be had, well, I've just proved it. It's all doable. Like, we've got our carp, and now we're off to the cafe for a cup of coffee and a break before fry up. Hooray! Woo! Everyone says you've got to find down in the winter, but obviously, because of the style of fishing we're doing, the last thing we want to do is find down. Oh, he's a lovely old carp, isn't he? Rig's come out, Rich. It's all right. Oh, hook's fallen out of the net, John. Absolutely ancient. And it's funny how they develop that rivery look to the head and mouth, isn't it? Just got that lovely shape. You know, if you were to catch a River Thames carp today, they've just got that look to them. You know, we were talking about how their mouths develop depending on the place that they live. He's an ancient old carp, ancient. I've known this carp, believe it or not, for a lot of years. I reckon getting on for 20 years he's lived here. He's one of the few constants because for such an incredible environment for carp to spend and live their life, they're very transient, the fish that live here. They come and go. Each year we've always had new fish. But this one, funny enough, my old friend Jan Porter, God rest his soul, who's not with us anymore, when I first started working for Shimano in 2002, maybe? Certainly 15 years ago anyway. I couldn't believe that Jan had never caught a canal carp. So I brought him here on a summer's morning and he caught this very carp. So God bless you, mate. And I've caught it again after all these years. Lovely to see. Gave us the take of death. Absolutely caught us by total surprise. You know, this is my little bit of secret. If you know it, you know it. It's been fished a lot more in recent years, but it's always been a constant. I live very close by, and when all the lakes in this valley and beyond are frozen solid, this spot here as you can see, she steams like a bath, she never freezes, and there's always a chance, even on the worst days. I've caught them here down to -10 plus. There's always a chance of getting a bite, and it's come good for us this morning, this beautiful carp. What a result. And now, woohoo, my hands are literally like blocks of ice. I'm going to put him back. What a brilliant morning's fishing. Wicked. What an amazing carp. I'm absolutely over the moon on such a terribly cold winter's day. Oh, well, it's a great little toy for this sort of fishing, and not just for spots like this where you got flow, but lots of places where you're dropping maybe in deeper water from a boat and stuff. I've used one in France for many years for dropping onto small spots with a little bucket full of hemp, say for instance in tigers, that normally you throw off the back of the boat, and through wind and tow and that, your bait ends up spread miles apart. Well, it's the same here. I want it at the foot of these stanchions, so it's literally, even though it's only 4 foot and I'm using 16mm boilies, which you think would sink straight to the bottom, of course they don't. You drop them in, even if you drop them in here, they're going to end up as much as a rod length away. I don't want that. I want a nice little cluster around the foot of these stanchions where the carp are moving around, and actually where I'm going to be fishing for them. So when I came the other day, and it was 2 days ago in the bad snow, I came down and I literally put one bait dropper on each of the spots that I was going to fish, erring on the side of caution. Well, now I know there's fish here, and the flow and all the snow melt and everything else taken into account, I've just put a couple more in to come back on, and probably come back in a couple of days time again for an hour or two, and that's all it takes. Just because it's winter and the water temperatures are bottomed out, if you've got a spot like this, or you've got somewhere, little captive audience, you can get a bite, treat it as no different to the summer. A couple of handfuls of bait, drop in, get your bite, go away again. You don't have to invest days and days sat in a bivvy killing yourself. I've done it for 30 years and I ain't doing it no more. This suits me. Leave the house at 6. I don't know what time it's now, 8:30, and we're off to the calf. Lovely times.